Hello everyone, I am Cyril, and I'm going to be talking about how to get the most brutal false chord screams you can possibly imagine. This is a So the first step to making those very spooky sounds is you want to make sure that you're properly warmed up. You can't just go into it and go 100% right at the beginning and expect to get that down, no problem. That's not how screaming works. So some ways to warm up: you got to make sure your throat is cleared out. Not a common misconception. A misconception that I had when I first started screaming is that I needed to have a lot of phlegm in my throat in order to make the scream work, because that was how my voice would get more distorted and more, growly. I would have a bunch of phlegm in my throat, and then my scream would sound good. I would swallow it, and then my scream would go back to sounding horrible. This is not the case. You do not need, obviously, to have this in order to scream properly. In fact, you actually want to be drinking a lot of water, because otherwise your throat will scratch up and get destroyed very quickly. Now, once you're all done warming up, once you've got your throat kind of cleared out, once you got your lungs and diaphragm all in order, they're all saying, yeah, I'm ready to go, man, fuck yeah, let's do this. First thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to tap into your false vocal cords. Obviously, it's in the name, false chord scream. You're going to scream using your false chords. Now, the false chords, I used to think they were located near the back of the throat. They are actually located, can't really see mine that well, but they're located in the Adam's apple. That's the sort of vessel that houses the false chords. And that's what you want to tap into in order to get those low, brutal, guttural noises. So the first thing you want to do is you want to sort of constrict not quite your entire body, almost your entire body. You're going to constrict your stomach, like your chest, your throat. Just constrict everything. Make sure that's all solid and almost like you're trying to hold your breath, as if you're hiding inside a closet from Michael Myers, because you don't want to get killed. Unless you do want to get killed, and that's a whole other story. So you constrict stomach, constrict chest, lungs, constrict vocal cords. And then what you want to do is you want to push air up. And the place where you want to push air up from is you want to push it up from primarily the lungs and the diaphragm. You can get away with getting some of it up from the throat. I sometimes do that. But if you do it from the throat excessively and solely, that's going to wear you out really quickly. So avoid doing it all from the throat. You have to want to have some of it coming from the lungs and the diaphragm. So once you've gotten that constricted, you're kind of almost holding your breath, push air up. You're going to want to start out kind of almost a sigh. It's almost like a sigh at the beginning. Act like you're really exhausted or maybe exasperated. Somebody just everybody, you're having a long day. Everybody's coming in trying to get, you're a famous celebrity. Everybody's coming in trying to get autographs from you. At the end of the panel, you go home, you lay down in your bed. That was a long fucking day. I just want to go to bed. But you can't, because you're practicing your false chord screams. So, as I said, it starts out as a sigh. You're constricting your muscles and then sighing. Just let it all out. And then, as you sigh, the sound that's coming up from your throat is, you're gonna want to make it gradually get more, growly. It starts out and you're gonna want to lean into that false chords, the false chords in there, and gradually it gets more and more screamy. But while you're doing this, above all, remember to breathe. You do not want to exert yourself too much, especially when you're starting out. That's how you destroy your vocal cords. When I was starting out, I was just trying to go 100% from the beginning, just it did not work. I'm gonna spoil things for you. It did not work. While you're trying to do this, you have to breathe. You have to pause and make sure that your vocal cords are agreeing with you. One thing that I've learned that is really helpful to do is like every once in a while, as you're practicing your screams, you want to try and pause and then try to go into your head register, your head voice, in clean vocals, in a clean singing voice, and just go really high, and just see if that still comes out really clean and non-distorted. And if it comes out like, you know, scratchy and kind of a little bit tone deaf, then that means you're exerting your false chords too much and you have to give it a break. So just every once in a while, just like you're being like, okay, I'm practicing this. Just go into your head register and just see if that still kind of, you know, registers as, you know, clean and, you know, healthy. And if it does, great, you can keep on practicing. If it doesn't, if that comes out scratchy or tone deaf, breathe, take a break. I cannot stress that enough. If you cause permanent damage to your vocal cords, you are not going to go back to screaming. If everybody does a little bit of damage to their false chords as they're starting out screaming, that's normal. But you want to learn how to notice when you're getting a little bit overexerted, and learn to notice that. Learn to know when it's becoming too much so that you know when to stop. Because if you don't stop, if you keep on doing it even when you're getting overexerted, you're eventually going to do permanent damage to your vocal cords, and that is not going to be good at all. So now back to the technicalities of actually doing the scream itself. Pretty much everything about the false chord scream in particular revolves around the larynx. I indirectly mentioned this earlier. The larynx is the term for this, you know, kind of this area of muscles around here that houses the false chords themselves. So that's the area that you're tapping into in order to get those screams. If you want like an even more detailed explanation, you can go watch the the video where they stuck a camera down Will Ramos's throat. That was really entertaining and also horrifying, and really fun, and also educational. But that's the area that you're tapping into, the larynx. And when you do this right, all the steps that I mentioned earlier, constriction of the stomach, constrict the lungs, the diaphragm, constrict the throat and the larynx, and then just push it all up there. Just shove that air up from deep in your bones, and then you'll be getting some spooky noises. Allow me to demonstrate. So, with all that said, I've mostly just been, you know, fucking around talking about the technicalities of this whole video, and you're probably getting pretty do not use that. Cam, do not use that word. You've probably been getting pretty bored. So, let us mess around with this in a little bit of context with the song To the Hellfire by Lorna Shore. Here we go. This isn't a tone of my religion or laughter, and to separation blocks that down as chargers. Lost to souls from where we fallen down into the yellow black. Can you feel it? These birds are needles trapped. And since I just saw what you have found, yeah, you fell into the dark. So that kind of thing, as cool as it sounds, is still naturally going to put strain on your vocal cords whether or not you're an experienced vocalist. It puts strain on my vocal cords, it'll put strain on your vocal cords, it'll put strain on fucking Will Ramos's vocal cords. It doesn't matter. You will still experience strain. It's still strenuous no matter how experienced you are. So what you've got to learn to do is to sort of, you know, keep that strain under control and not let it, you know, wear you out at the moments when you least need it to, or at least want it to. Now, above all, the thing is you have to figure out what works for you. Like, what I'm telling you is, like, you know, this is what I've learned over my many months of practicing screaming, and you may find that there are, you know, other muscles that make different sounds, and you like those sounds and you want to keep making those sounds, so you tap into those different muscles that may not necessarily be the muscles that I've talked about in this video, And that's fine. You've got to figure out, like, what techniques work for you, what techniques will get you the sort of sound and tone that you want without destroying your vocal cords, especially not when you're on stage, because that's the time when you least want it to do that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's all based on you as an individual and not what everybody is like. Nobody's body is the same. Everybody's body is different. So we're all going to have different things that work for us when we're trying to get those tones. I hope you all have found what I've talked about in this video helpful. I also just did an interview with the author of a queer young adult book called The Haunting Between Us. I'll put the link to that video in the description. And I hope that this is helpful for you. I hope it helps you figure out how to do your screams, how to, make your tone, and how to shape it to be, sort of what you want it to be. So I hope you all have an awesome, fluffy day. Stay fluffy, y'all. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.
This is a tutorial and to summarize, blood down a charge.